Cinema is more than entertainment. It is memory, it is culture. It is history captured in light and shadow. But every once in a while, a film comes along that does more than tell a story. It changes the language of cinema itself. New ways to move the camera. New ways to edit time. New ways to make audiences feel fear, wonder, and awe. Today's list is about those rare films, the ones that altered storytelling, technology, and the way audiences experience cinema itself. This is a top 10 movies that permanently changed cinema in my opinion. Each one pushed the medium forward, forcing the industry to evolve. Let's begin. At 10 we have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937. In the 1930s, animation was considered novelty entertainment. Cartoons were short, comedic, and disposable, something audiences watched before the main feature. No one believed an animated film could hold emotional weight for more than a few minutes. Walt Disney disagreed. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was an enormous gamble. A feature-length animated film had never been attempted at this scale, and many in Hollywood believed audiences would grow tired or laugh at the idea. Instead, the film captivated viewers. For the first time, animation told a sustained emotional story with character development, music, tension, and genuine drama. This film proved that animation was not a lesser art form. It could make audiences laugh, feel fear, and even cry. Without Snow White, there would be no Disney Renaissance, no Pixar, no Studio Ghibli, and no modern animated storytelling as we know it. At number 9 we have Citizen Kane, 1941. When Citizen Kane was released, it didn't look like any other movie of its time, and that was exactly the point. Orson Welles rejected traditional linear storytelling and instead constructed a narrative built around memory, perspective, and contradiction. The film jumps through time, revealing the life of Charles Foster Kane not through facts, but through the fragmented recollections of those who knew him. Visually, the film was just as radical. The camera moved in ways rarely seen before. Deep focus cinematography allowed multiple planes of action to remain in focus simultaneously, giving audiences freedom to choose where to look. Lighting and framing borrowed heavily from theater and German expressionism, creating mood and psychological depth. Citizen Kane didn't just tell filmmakers what stories to tell, it taught them how cinema could communicate meaning. At number 8 we have Rashomon, 1950. Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon changed the way cinema understood truth. The film tells a single event, a crime, from multiple perspectives. Each version contradicts the others, revealing not only the unreliability of memory, but the ego and self-interest of the storyteller. There is no definitive truth, only interpretation. This approach was revolutionary. Until Rashomon, films largely presented events as objective reality. Kurosawa introduced the idea that cinema could explore subjectivity, bias, and perception itself. Today, this storytelling technique is so influential that it has its own name, the Rashomon effect. From courtroom dramas to psychological thrillers, this film reshaped narrative structure across global cinema. At number 7 we have Psycho, 1960. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho didn't simply scare audiences, it destabilized them. At a time when films followed predictable moral and narrative structures, Psycho shattered expectations. The apparent protagonist is brutally killed early in the story, leaving audiences disoriented and vulnerable. The villain is not a monster or supernatural force, but an ordinary man hiding in plain sight. Hitchcock used editing, sound design, and camera movement with surgical precision. The infamous shower scene, composed of dozens of rapid cuts, convinced audiences they had seen more violence than was actually shown. Psycho redefined horror as psychological, intimate, and deeply unsettling, laying the foundation for modern thrillers and slasher films. At number 6, we have 2001: A Space Odyssey, 1968. 2001: A Space Odyssey is not a film that explains itself, it demands patience. Stanley Kubrick rejected conventional storytelling and dialogue, instead using visuals, music, and silence to communicate meaning. The film treats space travel with unprecedented realism, making the vast emptiness of the universe feel both awe-inspiring and terrifying. More importantly, 2001 explored philosophical questions rarely addressed in mainstream cinema: humanity's relationship with technology, artificial intelligence, and evolution itself. The film elevated science fiction from genre entertainment to intellectual art, proving cinema could be meditative, abstract, and deeply philosophical. At number 5. Jaws, 1975. With Jaws, Steven Spielberg didn't just scare audiences, he transformed Hollywood economics. The film's release strategy was revolutionary, opening nationwide with heavy television advertising. This approach turned Jaws into a cultural event, creating massive lines and sold-out theaters. Narratively, the film relied on tension rather than spectacle. The shark is rarely shown, allowing music and editing to create suspense. This restraint made the fear feel more real. Jaws invented the summer blockbuster, changing how studios release, market, and prioritize films to this day. At number 4 we have Star Wars, 1977. Star Wars arrived at a time when Hollywood films were growing increasingly cynical and grounded. George Lucas offered something different: myth, adventure, and hope. The film combined cutting-edge visual effects with classical storytelling inspired by mythology. Its success created the concept of cinematic universes, sequels, and transmedia storytelling. Films were no longer standalone experiences, they became ongoing worlds. Star Wars didn't just entertain audiences, it reshaped the film industry's long-term vision. And at number 3 we have Jurassic Park, 1993. When audiences saw dinosaurs walk across the screen in Jurassic Park, they didn't see special effects, they saw life. Steven Spielberg combined groundbreaking CGI with practical effects in a way that felt seamless and believable. This film proved that digital effects could carry emotional weight, not just visual spectacle. After Jurassic Park, CGI became a central filmmaking tool, forever altering how movies were imagined and produced. At number 2 we have The Matrix, 1999. The Matrix changed how action looked, felt, and moved. Its visual style, slow-motion choreography, and philosophical themes blended cyberpunk aesthetics with existential questions. The film introduced bullet time, allowing the camera to move independently of time itself. Beyond technique, The Matrix challenged audiences to question reality, identity, and control, a merging blockbuster spectacle with intellectual ambition. And finally at number 1, we have Avatar, 2009. At number 1 stands a film that redefined cinematic immersion. James Cameron didn't simply improve visual effects, he built an entire world that felt tangible and alive. Motion capture technology allowed digital characters to express real emotion, while 3D was used to deepen immersion rather than distract. Avatar forced the industry to invest in new technology and raised audience expectations for spectacle, scale, and world building. Cinema after Avatar became more immersive, more ambitious, and more technologically driven. Cinema evolves because filmmakers dare to push boundaries. These 10 films didn't just succeed, they forced change. And somewhere right now, another filmmaker is preparing the next film that will change everything. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like the video, subscribe for more cinematic essays, and let me know in the comments, which movie do you think changed cinema forever? Until next time. Keep watching cinema as an art.